Check it out, man. Somebody told me that the Myrmos, they can take Treb shots and not lose any models. And I'm like, sounds fishy. Thought we'd test it out today. Hope you find it entertaining. First one, this is top line Myrmies. Top line Myrmies. Let's see how we do. Well, that's pretty good. I think there's a couple more. 13 died. All right, let's try it again. This is bottom line Myrmies. Danger close. Better. Definitely better. 7 died. All right, well, that's pretty good. Let's try again. This is mixed line Myrmies. So they've got maximum damage reduction. Let's give this a go. Now don't forget there's a lot of randomness in this as well. Where exactly the Treb shots fall and how far out of formation they get hit and things like that does affect. So you're not going to get the same effect twice. This is just indicative. So mixed formation. Only 6 died in mixed formation. Mixed veterancy one should have been. And this is the last one. We're going to do bottom line with hero damage reduction added. We're also going to hit the 2 button and heal the guys as they go. Not that that's going to make much difference to a Treb. 12, we lost 12 that time, even though we had damage reduction and healing. Well, boys and girls, I hope you found that entertaining. That's hitting Myrmies with trebuchets. Fun. Hey boys and girls, it's KnightStalker here. Welcome along today to another video on Conquerors this time. This is a map I haven't played very much because it's only really just been released as far as I'm aware into the main map pool. I don't recall playing it a whole lot, but some maps come in and out of the rotation, so here we go. Now we're going to do something just a little bit different today, boys and girls. Stalwarts and Paladins have just had a nice upgrade and we're starting to see a lot of them in battle, so I thought I'd use them for an example. But today we're going to do what I like to call a battle breakdown. So there's going to be a lot of stopping and starting of the video and trying to explain my actions and some of the decisions I'm making while I'm playing. Hopefully that might give new players a bit of an idea about how things go. And if you're a veteran player as well, don't forget, hey man, throw some information down in the comments as well. What did I do wrong? What did I do right? You know, you're not going to do everything right in a battle, so I'll point out the things I'm doing wrong as well. And yeah, hopefully this information will be helpful to any new players or even, you know, maybe some veterans or mid-tier players who are looking just to sharpen up a bit. One of the things I notice about Conquerors is that I feel like it's extremely hard for the attacker, like much harder than defending. And the A point's not so bad, it's fairly typical of an A point, but it's the C point that really seems to demolish teams in this map. So here we go, and we're going to start. I'm going to use this. Haha, look at that. I've got a nice little pop-up, and it's a what do you call it, VLC player, because that's really the only thing I have to do this. I don't have specialist software to slow things down, break things up, and it would take forever to edit. So here we go. So I noticed that our team have got themselves some nice siege towers pushing in, and we're going to grab the ram. Now, don't underestimate how important it is to get that siege equipment in, and don't underestimate how important it is to get that siege equipment in on as many points as possible. If you only get one siege tower in, the enemy only has to focus on one location for you to attack in. Okay, so the more that you get in, the better. There'll be some funny things that I do in this video, because I actually did record this video, but it didn't make it to production. So we're going to do something a little bit different. So if you see me stopping and things, I was probably talking in the original. So the reason I'm hanging around the gate here is fairly simple. I'm pushing in the ram, obviously. And what I'm worried about is sally outs, particularly with cavalry. So see how I'm sitting off to the little side there? It allows me to, at any point, press the F2 key and put my guys into a line formation with a brace. One of the great things about the village watchmen is they do have a brace, and lighter cavalry, anything up to, including armoured lancers, are going to have a bad day, right? They're not going to lose, but they're going to have a bad day. Cavalry don't want to charge these things. And once the ram gets all the way in, we're going to pop back to the supply point. So the reason that we're doing that is that we just obviously wanted to keep better control of our troops. Once we get to that point, either if they open the gate, the ram will touch it and kill it instantly, because a ram touching an open gate is an instant kill, or they're not going to have enough time to charge out, things like that. Now the reason I'm getting ready over here, see what I'm doing in this, I'm putting my little marker over here. As soon as they fight, I'm going to push them over this way. Now the reason for that, let me just pause that, is when they come out of the gate, anything charging through the broken gate will charge directly and straight, right? You can't charge around corners unless you're cataphract lancers. So if these guys come out of the little dockway and they go this way, anything charging at them will miss, because they're going to make a nice hard left turn. From their perspective, it's a left turn. And that's why that decision was made. We move them over here so that they come out and turn immediately, avoiding the charge out of the gate. Let's go. So, when I'm using units that need a lot of micro, particularly ones that brace, I do it on foot. Now, that might sound obvious, but I don't see everyone doing it that way. But I very much like to command my troops on foot, especially because I'm a longsword, right? Longswords are terrible for fighting from horseback. You have a short range, low damage, and no special attacks. It's just, fighting from horseback as a longsword is terrible. Especially because you can't heal or anything, right? We'll leave that to the spears and the glaives of this world. So, let me just pause it here. What's happening here is I see we're pushing up this siege tower, and we're pushing up this siege tower. Do you see how having two things pushed in, giving us 2 points of attack, are very useful, because the enemy has to split their focus. If they don't have to split their focus, they have the maximum output focused on the minimum area. You see some of our troops are mucking around over here, making a little... don't know quite what it is that they're doing there, but because they're all spread out, it's very odd. They might be cavalry. And they've got some of the focus of the enemy troops here. So this looks like a good time to pop in, and that's why you see Mr. Javelins up here feel fairly confident, because there's a bit of causeway and half of the team's focus is elsewhere. So, let's see how we do. So we're going to bring them up, and we're just going to go into brace here to protect the javelins. Watch this. This guy here, I see him come up. See he's got his arm back and his musket up. That means he's going to throw a bomb. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to try and time it to use my heal ability, the R ability, because that gives me 3 seconds of 15% damage reduction, plus it will of course heal my unit when it gets hit. Timed, but it missed anyway. Boo hiss for Mr. Musket. So, one of the things you can do as a longsword, or pretty much any hero, especially if you're a tank class, short sword and things like that, is you can draw fire. So enemies don't have unlimited ammunition. I don't know quite what I was doing here. I must have been just sort of inspecting who's around me and what weapons they have. You can also do that if you press the Z key. But do you see how I'm drawing the arrow fire there? I've put my unit back into the shield up formation so that they take less damage from ranged. And because I don't play this map here, I don't know why I was doing this. I think I was just having an explore of the arcs and where the trebs come from. So I'm not really quite sure what I had in mind there. But now we're waiting. Do you see how down here our push failed? Over here we haven't got any of the enemy heroes with their attention drawn. So to go in right now would be deadly to us. What I'm going to do here is I'm protecting this guy from being shot or knocked out of his build, because that would stop him building. And then I'm going to protect the actual cannon itself. What I'll do is I'll sidestep so he can aim better when I think that the timer is down, just so he doesn't have to try and shoot through my body while I'm still protecting him. Longsword stuff, right? Alright, now is the time to go. Here's the thing. I don't think Mr. Javelin's going to follow us, and I don't know why. I can't see him in hindsight on here. He may have gone back to get some javelins and things like that. But when the team are advancing like this on the point, go with them, okay? Yes, you might lose your troops. You cannot win a battle without losing troops. I can't stress this enough. You cannot win a battle without losing troops. Don't leave your team hanging out to dry. With these guys pushing in and these guys pushing in, it makes sense for me to take mine in as well. I'm not going to say something like, don't be a wuss, don't be a blouse, because sometimes the team will be making pushes into enemies that they absolutely have no hope of winning, and you would just sacrifice yourself as well. But typically 9 times out of 10, if your team is pushing, you want to be pushing too. These pikes, they will give us a great deal of focused damage behind our shield line. And these stalwarts, the new stalwarts, are upgraded and they're fantastic compared to what they were, but they're still missing one of the 3 big things that will make them meta. They can't cause CC, they don't have anti-CC, and they do not have burst damage. Okay, those are the 3 things that I think at the moment are what really makes units a bit more meta. And they still lack that, okay? So let's see how we do. Our pikes come all the way in, good for them. And we're going to go up and we're going to brace with our friends, okay? This was a mistake, and I'll tell you why. When I triggered my my ult, which would usually knock things down, these Palace Guard have a 5-second, which is an eternity in combat, really, a 5-second anti-CC. I cannot knock them down, I cannot knock them back. I can damage their block, but that's really not what's happened here. I was too late to trigger my ult to knock them down. Now they're immune to all forms of CC. CC, by the way, is crowd control. Anything that interrupts the enemy's movement or inhibits their ability to fight, slows them down, that sort of thing. So when you hear me say CC, that's what I meant, crowd control. So this was a mistake. It is going to do a whole bunch of block damage to the enemy's block, because I'm using blunt damage and an ult that will do that, but it was not a particularly great idea. I'm now in the front rank ahead of our shields. I'm getting shot by muskets, okay? So this was a mistake, all right? Nothing shielding me. I'm now only relying on my innate toughness as a longsword. You know, if you're any other character other than a longsword or a short sword, this is pretty much an instant death sentence. So while you see me play like this, unless you're one of those two tank classes, don't do this. Now, oh, that was a little mistake there. Did you see how the stalwarts advanced and they got stuck? If the whole stalwart formation cannot advance, it will stick where it starts, basically. Do you see how some of my guys are still here? I haven't recalled them back into formation, because if these guys move, they'll get killed straight away. We're going to let the pikes do their jobs. We're going to let our teammates support us. Do you see how our team have come in from the opposite side? It's very important to attack from 2 points. Look how much damage we can do now. Do you see the stalwarts again? My stalwarts didn't advance when they should have, because they got stuck in their formation. Whew. So what are we looking at here? A glaive and a musket. Both have a very strong... two glaives and a musket. Both have very strong and large CC ability. He's got a bomb. These guys have got, I think it's called Flying Reaper, a big overhand strike that absolutely nails things that aren't immune to CC. And we've got a spear here. This is a bad position for a spear, because he's faced with pikes, he's faced with shields, and he's faced with tank characters. So this spear here is in an ineffective position, but he will be commanding his troops. Okay, so ordinarily those murmilons, or whatever the hell they're called, murmies, would have destroyed the front unit. But look at it, we've got at least 1 unit of pikes, I think 2. We've got 2 units of shields, and we've got multiple heroes who can focus huge amounts of damage into that doorway. Anything pushing into that doorway, it's just fatal for it pretty much instantly, because you've got shields at the front, you've got long reach, and look, we even had the claymores charge down and finish off some of the stragglers. Those claymores are now pulling back, because they should be doing that while they rest. Okay, so these Huskars here are extremely deadly. One of the big problems that they have, they're circa meta. I won't argue whether they're meta or not, but they're very strong because of their insane burst damage. If you play this unit right, it will just absolutely strip through any unit. The problem that they've got is that they have no CC immunity, and so or anti-CC. So they can smash through blocks, but things like Palace Guards don't care about them. If we had the pikes still here, the pikes would probably have a doctrine on them that would stun them, and, you know, as well as their movement causing extra damage into the pikes, they would also be stunned and have no ability to retaliate. Let's see what happens. Here's the thing. See all the heroes focusing there? The heroes did the CC on the unit and completely stopped it in its tracks. Here even basic attacks for heroes have a CC only on you know, when they don't hit a block. It's not a stun or anything. See how I use my CC here? I use my ult to knock him down so he has no ability to escape. We'll finish him off. Probably won't matter this early in the game, but later on when his respawns get longer and longer, it will certainly matter. So I'm dithering a bit here because I don't know this map very well. And I decided to bring out my paladins because I've lost half the unit of stellies. We can always bring the stellies out later. So, in we go. What's our role here as paladins? So we've got a mini shield wall. We can XV onto heroes and kill them instantly. And when you separate out into an open formation by hitting V, they will also bog down enemy units. We're going to charge. Let me just look at that decision. Okay, why did we charge into here? Well, you couldn't see these cavalry when my brain was processing the decision. That's the first thing. This short sword, again, a short sword is terrible for running cavalry with. He has no ability to support his cavalry. But he's come all the way down. These are armiger lancers. He's come all the way down and turned, and that's taken all of the momentum out of his cavalry. And unfortunately for him, he couldn't see them at the time, but these pikes are here, and they're going to end up devastating them. But even if he hadn't had pikes here, the paladins and things are actually going to charge into these and hit them and kill them anyway, because they're going to lose all of their momentum when they come around the corner. Well, most of their momentum. You know, they're not completely helpless, but they will take a hit. Now, why did I decide to charge into these guys when they're really quite deadly and we have a lot of support? Why do I want to go out in front of them? Well, if we look at our map here, at any time we could be charged into the side as well. This road here leads to some enemies very close. So if we're out of this direct line of charge here, as soon as we pass, say, this line here, over this side of it, we no longer have the ability, the enemy no longer have the ability to charge us. They can walk infantry down and XV them in, but we do have support. Let's see how this goes. As you can see, paladins work rather nicely on the charge. I use the heal ability there, just because we're all in the middle of our own troops. And this decision here, see how I'm checking the map? What I'm doing there is I'm looking for things like him or him that may end up flanking our team. So I'm going to move out here, set up the shield wall, have a quick look left and right, because this map here is enough to give you an idea of where the battle flow is going, but at the same time, it's not detailed enough to know everything. So here's my options. I can charge into these, what are they? They look like Kriegsrat Fusiliers, I'd say, looking at the stance of this guy. What's going to happen if I do that? Well, what about people reinforcing? You know, under the sea there could be more people. They've got people here, they've got people feeding in. So I can go in there and be on my own. I'd probably kill them, but I'd probably die for my troubles. So the decision is to go back and join the death blob. A death blob is where all of your team, or a large chunk of your team, are all in the same spot together. And that makes it very, very hard to defeat you. Death ball. Do you see how the Kriegs got overrun anyway? There was no need to risk it there. In hindsight, I could have made that decision to go and kill the Kriegs. I think it's better to play safe. They were always going to die one way or the other, it turns out. Right, so, hang on, let's have a look here. Can you see the enemy's palace guard here? They've just made a huge mistake that is going to get them killed. They've gone into the crouch position well before our troops are engaged with them. They have a 5-second anti-CC ability when they crouch. They've done it too early. By the time we get there, they're not going to have any ability to stop us knocking them all down. Things we've got to be aware of here. Longswords break up pike units really well, so do muskets with their bomb. That Nodachi, how his skills and things works, will probably die instantly if he dives into the pikes, I want to say. Pikes and paladins will probably murder him straight away. The glaive has some ability to disrupt our formations as well, but only once. And there's too much here for him to do on his own. So let's see how this goes. Right. Here, I've charged Myrmillos. Why? Myrmillos don't have anti-CC. It's one of their biggest weaknesses. So what we're going to do here is, you can see I've got my ult up. We're going to charge into them, which will have a high block break, and then we're going to scatter them. But you're also going to think, what are the Myrmillos doing? Why are they moving wide? Do they really want to fight the paladins in a longsword? Probably not. So they're trying to get a flank charge on our pikes so that they're not charging into the tips. Anything moving into the tip of a pike will take extra damage. The faster it's going, the more damage it will do. So if you charge into the front of pikes, it's pretty much instant death for almost anything, but especially cavalry and almost always heroes. If you do like a Clash of Shields ult into the front of pikes, you'll probably take so much damage as to be dead fairly quickly. Note how these Palace Guard now, they've gone into their shield bash mode, they've stood up, and given the amount of shields and pikes here, they're going to last seconds. Watch. And the Myrmillos, let's see what happens. See how the Myrmillos can't stop that? And now they're all scattered. I allow my paladins to fight in open formation because one of their new abilities means they can counter-strike with a little bash, which is also what the Myrmillos do. So we're essentially CCing each other, but there's a lot more of us. Now, all of these pikes, oh, here comes the cavalry, eh? Pikes and cavalry, Delicious. Alright, now, our team has been working very, very well together. I'm not going to run off and abandon all of these pikes. Pikes have no ability to defend themselves up close. They do all of the damage at the tip of the pike, and they do no damage next to the user. So anything getting right up on pikes takes no damage whatsoever. So we're going to use the shields to protect them. They've done well for us, let's do well for them. So, at this point we've taken almost no damage. And here's where it becomes really difficult on this map, in my experience. I have not a great deal of experience fighting on this map. If you're a veteran, I really, really want to hear all of your discussions on how to take, the home point, not the C point that I said earlier, this one. Because it's, you can't charge around corners. One of the golden rules of Conquerors Blade is you can't charge around corners. And the only way to get in there is to go around a corner. Whew, it's really hard, man. Would love to hear suggestions. People who have played a lot of Territory War might have seen this map more than I have. So what we're doing here is we're just blocking that very narrow entrance to the bridge and allowing the guns to have a few pot shots there. They're not going to be very effective because the enemy are not giving them enough, visual to be able to shoot. And do you remember how earlier I was talking about how I was trying to drain the ammo of those archers? That's exactly what that Nodachi's doing. Oh, he might get killed now, except that they moved away. So our death ball is all healed up and we're going to push forward. We're going to be the shield wall for the unit. We're going to go up front. If we get this guy in the XV, see how easy it is for paladins to kill heroes. Move the shield wall onto them, hit V, instantly kills heroes. All heroes, longswords included. So somebody's got the Treb up the back, which is what I wanted to do. So here is the problem. To the left here, masses of troops. The only entrance is here, but worse than that, it's here. This corner is the only entrance, unless you want to run some people all the way out and round. So you're walking into pre-prepared enemies with multiple heroes, multiple shields, multiple pikes, and no doubt ranged units behind them as well. How do you take this point? I'd love to know, because the team gets bogged down here, and we'll see how it goes. Up until this point, our team have been making brilliant decisions and working together fantastically. Does it continue? Let's find out. So where we are here now is quite... Oh, so you see that? Again, the Huskarls, very, very deadly unless you can CC them. And that's a good use of a longsword ult. So, this is a relatively okay idea while we all peek in. All the heroes need to get an idea, but look at those rank after rank after rank of shields and pikes. I've decided to countercharge with my paladins, and this is my first major mistake in this game. What I anticipated would do is that those guys would all come in and cluster up here as they hit, and then I would hit them and stop. Unfortunately, we miss. And we end up very deep in the enemy formation. And this is a very bad mistake. This is absolutely fatal under any circumstances for these paladins, unless our team was to pour through as well. And do you remember earlier how I mentioned that if your team make an ill-advised push, you don't have to follow them, but make sure you support them? Let's hope our team don't follow us into this death trap. Oh, man, this is a bad mistake. I'm cringe watching it now. See how the paladins don't have any anti-CC? Now, these Imperial Pikes have a problem. I appreciate that he wanted to back me up, but he shouldn't have thrown, well, good troops after bad troops, right? My guys were dead, he didn't have to follow in there. He's going to try and turn an advance into here. Now that has two problems. The first of all is that Imperial Pikes cannot knock over anything with a shield active. So whether they're braced shields, whether they're tower shields in a line formation, they simply cannot knock them over. That's one of the things that they can't knock over. It's just impossible. Unless they find a gap in the shields, they ain't going nowhere. The other thing is that they're not immune to CC either, despite their own ability to deal out massive CC. So all of these heroes here are just going to knock them down using the hero abilities and cycle their abilities on them. They've got no other targets. They've got no reason to believe that anyone else is going to push in. And so all of these guys are going to get their advanced knocked down very quickly, and all of these ranged units at the back are going to smoke them. Regrettable. Let's go and respawn and see if we can make better decisions. Right. We're going to respawn with the Prefecture Guard. Now, Prefecture Guard have one of the big three. They don't have anti-CC, they don't cause CC, but they do have massive burst damage. So Even though they're a blue tier unit, this unit is capable of beating almost 95% of the units in the game, no matter what their tier is. Given the circumstances, right? We're not going to throw them into the front of a pike unit. Do you see me how I'm creeping them forward there to a position where I can call them, but not in a position where they're under fire or threatened? Now, that musket's just going to bomb. Any musket heroes are just going to continue to throw bombs onto the stairs. So this is too close for us to set up. And really, we realise at this point that there's no entry, right? The no entry sign's up. No shirt, no shoes, no service. And so we're going to have to go and do something else. This is simply, it's impossible to push in there as it stands. We haven't got anyone pushing in the back to take the focus off us. And we've got that little corner that we all have to go around. So, let's go and take a different angle. We've got some, pike militia coming with us. We've got some stalwarts coming with us. We've got some palace guard coming with us. This is a good little combo. And I can see that we've got at least a couple of heroes up top already. I'm just pausing here to make sure my unit groups up. That's one thing that I don't see people, especially, I watch a lot of Twitch let me just pause it. I watch a lot of Twitch streamers who are sort of early to mid-level, and one of the things that they constantly don't do is they don't wait to form up their troops, okay? And that leads to negative outcomes because only part of your unit is fighting when you initially make contact, and it allows the enemy to overwhelm the part unit, and then the next bit trickles in and gets overwhelmed, next bit trickles in, overwhelmed, and so on. Please take a moment to group up your units. It's really, very rarely is it so urgent that you need to go in with a scattered unit. Let's do this. So the problem that we've got here is, and I'll explain it as well. So here, over here is where we've been trying to get in. Right? The problem that we've got here is that we're going to go downstairs, around a corner, downstairs, around a corner, downstairs, here. And this is where the enemy come from, right here. So you've got two access points to this home point that are horrifically hard to attack and very easy to defend. I think we're supposed to maybe, at this point we don't have the gold units active, it's early in the season. If we had Shenji Grenadiers, we might be able to start disrupting. We had a couple of heroes setting up mortars, it might do it. But really it's very difficult because this whole area is exposed. Let's see how this goes for our team. Now, again, my unit is a burst unit, and I need it on standby, and I do not want it in the front line. So far, so good. Our team are making good decisions. Palace Guard are where they should be. Now, I want you to watch this. This Palace Guard player is about to make a terrible, terrible decision. They're going to charge in. Perfect. They're going to brace. Perfect, because they have plus 75% block break on this unit, because with their Palace Guard, they will smash, absolutely smash through this whole unit of stalwarts without any stress whatsoever. The stalwarts are no match for Palace Guard at all. The problem is that they only have this CC immunity from the musket, who has a bomb, and the glaive, who has flying reaper, or this guy, or whoever's going to help him. Short sword again, ton of CC. Even the Nodachi. The problem is he charges in and he braces, and then he gets straight up out of the brace. Why, bro? Why? Stay in the brace, man. The brace is where all of your damage is going to come from. Let's watch. Hit. Brace. Immediately out of CC. Did you see how they stood up? Now watch what he does. Comes out of the brace and then gets annihilated by the stalwarts. He turned a guaranteed win into a guaranteed loss. What can you say? So, big flamey balls of death are going to hit here. Whoever called this Treb did it perfectly. This was a well-timed, well-thought-out, even if it was in, a flicker of a moment, they had to make that decision. They could see people advancing. They thought that the Palace Guard were not going to die instantly, so they placed it right in front of the Palace Guard, which would have smashed the entire unit of stalwarts and driven back the heroes. We've got pushed back a little further than normal, but that's okay. Trebs are not 100% accurate. These stalwarts down the bottom are doing a great job. They're going to be able to hold long enough because of these muskets. So we're going to do the same thing again. Now this might initially look to you like a misplaced Treb. No, why have you placed it between the units? There's nothing there that's going to drop on. Well, I have an understanding of the battle flow, and I have an understanding of how these units are going to work. These Huskarls are not going to want to stay in once they've used their cycle of abilities. Hey, they might advance as well. That's what I'm thinking anyway. These guys are not going to stay here. They're going to try and pull back, especially when they see the pikes and muskets. I call my burst unit forward so that we're ready to clean up the stragglers. We do not want any low health stragglers getting away. We're going to initiate with our ult to cause massive CC to the stalwarts who have got no ability to counter it. We're going to hit the 2 key, then the 3 key, and we're just going to watch as my blue tier prefecture guard smash through 2 purple units and start on a 3rd. Isn't it beautiful? Look how that stalwart just got nailed. One of the things about stalwarts is that they take extra damage in the back, like extra damage. Oh, cavalry, he says, pulls back, but the cavalry are not after me, and that's handy. So we're going to come back down. All I'm thinking at this point is that I can beat light units. The heroes won't advance on us because they'll be scared of the burst damage potential, even though they don't know I'm on cooldown, right? I've got 25 seconds to kill, and that is an eternity in battle. So I'm trying to prevent them doing anything psycho, but the reality is those stalwarts and those Murmillos are going to absolutely devastate me. So in this sort of scenario, save your unit. Save your unit. We've got guns to fall back to. We've got heals to do. We might as well wait until we have a better opportunity. The problem we've got here... okay, so this is going to go a bit weird. Ordinarily, a full prefecture guard unit would be able to beat these guys solely based on my hero CC. Let's see how this plays out when I mess it up. See this? I missed the front of the unit. And that is going to be all the difference that we need to lose. See how I've separated them up? I've broken up the unit, so when they brace, the whole back of the unit won't be engaging the front. We had too many low health, prefecture guard, so they're going to get picked off relatively rapidly while they bash through the blocks of these guys. But they will bash through the blocks. But ultimately, we're not able to push through a whole unit of stalwarts and 3 heroes. Who would have thought? Who would have thought with our blue tier unit? But we did an absolute outrageous, unbalanced level of damage for how the prefecture guard should work based on their tier and leadership, right? The prefecture guard are undercosted and a little overpowered when you use the central vet line. Got to be honest with you. Happy to use that blue unit in any level of play. So yeah, we killed, what, 30 purple units, and we lost our blue unit. 30 models, but I don't know. We'll check at the end of the game. So anyway, the option here is obvious. We do not bring peasants. Let me just say this to you very loud and clearly. We do not bring peasants into combat if we have another unit that is available for fighting. Ever. Your team needs you to put your best foot forward always. Unless you've got something really special, like you've got Falconetti gunners, and they don't work for the capture of the A point, they're only good for the capture of the C point, but that's all you've got is peasants and Falconetti gunners, well then you take your peasants. But your team needs you to bring the unit that is most appropriate, and peasants melt like butter. They're no use in combat whatsoever, even the best peasants. Right? Take your good units. Unless you've got a very good reason not to, that you're saving the unit for a very specific purpose later. Don't fight with peasants if you've got other options. Your team needs you now, they don't need you later. Here we go. So I have a part unit of stellies. Now, my thinking here is that it went really, really badly at that short C to home. So let's go and cause some ruckus up on the wall again. You can't overstate how important it is to just be alive up there and not allow them to focus in only one direction. So that's my theory that I'm going with right now. I'm going to show my stalwarts so the enemy can see them. I'm going to use my shield because this unit is a shield wall primarily. It is. I'm going to use my shields to protect the muskets while they shoot and generally be a nuisance. But when I get up there, I find, unfortunately, we're already locked in combat. The enemy are pushing this way. So that's not going to go super well for us. Except that they've brought peasants, right? This is why it just illustrates it perfectly. Peasants melt. They melt like it's warm ice cream in summer, like warm ice cream melts, right? That's how quick peasants melt in combat with actual melee units. So, we're going to go back to the original plan. We want those Namcans dead. The only way to do that is to have the muskets reach out and touch them, and it will protect the muskets from being shot. Do you see how even though we're in shield formation, we are not doing the overhand shields? That's because any disruption to the stalwart formation doesn't allow them to complete their formation at all. It's a big weakness of this unit. Other units like, say, Imperial Spearguard, the amount of the quantity of unit that is available will still advance and things like that. So this is not an easy hold. What I'm trying to do here is, look at this, I'm trying to use my 4th attack or 5th attack on the cycle to knock him into the unit of stalwarts, and that would have killed him. Unfortunately, while I was distracted trying to kill the musket, who's now going to use his escape skill, we're going to have this Nodachi get into the back of us, and watch this. This is a problem. I try to run them away, right? So I've moved them away. The concept is that I wanted them to block him up and advance them back down this way, which would completely zone out these 2 heroes. Watch this. The concept is they should reform now and start advancing. But they just stand there. And this is one of the big problems. The Stalwart AI is garbage. One of the other things about Stalwarts that I'll just point out real quick is that if they're in formation and they're braced and they get knocked out of formation by, I don't know, anything, a blast, a hero ult, if it gets knocked back to here, he doesn't rejoin it into the formation like other shield units, unless they're in this one here, the line formation. They'll just stand up where they are, kneel down again and brace in the same direction. So that could be a positive or a negative depending on what's happening, but it's usually and mostly a negative. It could be a positive sometimes. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, the AI has decided that they don't want to carry out the orders that they've been given. We get overwhelmed and we're dead. So, we've drawn, look, our one little half unit has drawn 5 or 6 heroes over here. This should theoretically give these guys a bit more of an opening. Right? It doesn't. Let's go and get alive again. Alright, all we've got left is peasants. So peasants it is. Now, we've got 2 minutes left on the clock. We have no time for drama. We have no time to maneuver. We need to get in there and give it our last throw. Alright? So, I see a lot of players standing back in this sort of scenario. Right? You've got less than 2 minutes on the clock. You've got limited troops left available. Some people are using just what they've got left. You know, look at these poor guy here. He's got Metallurgy, which are one of the worst units in the game in combat. Brilliant unit, terrible in combat. So, here is where we might use the peasants. I'm communicating to my team that we need to get in there right now, because we need to get on that point and start capturing, because we don't have to just kill everything here, we have to capture the point as well. So in go my guys, they're going to catch all of the oh, see that? Do you see how I completely disrupted the Palace Guard unit? If these guys charge in and they brace in a nice big chunky block, you can't deal with them because they have that 5 seconds of CC immunity. If you can, when they're charging in, you can scatter them, and watch how they brace, and see how they're all braced now, and they're all braced in scattered areas where things can attack around their shields and things like that. They also are braced away from our troops, so that's why I did the ult there. We're breaking them up. Oh, excuse me. So yes, this is an all or nothing push now. Nobody is expecting to live. We've got nothing else that we can do. It takes about 20 to 30 seconds to capture this if we've got 5 or 6 heroes on it. We've got 40 seconds to get on the point. We have to go no matter what. So the peasants come in. See, here's Metallurgy, he's come in. They're going to take all of the musket shots, the arrows, they're going to take all the javelins in the face, and hopefully the units following on behind us will have at least some chance. You know, but look at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 heroes, and presumably 10 units as well. And we have half that number. Let's see how it goes. Not well, it turns out. Now watch this. In mid-roll, I get javelin shotted. So that was just bad luck. It was very lucky for that Imperial Javelin player to get me. I probably wasn't aiming at me, but mid-roll I should have easily dodged those javelins. Never mind. And that, boys and girls, is the end of the game. I won't subject you to some more torture. I'll show you the end plates, really, and we can have a talk about that. Let's go. Alright, so it's a defeat. Now you'll notice that we did 1.2 million damage and it took 2.2 million damage. That's a very good score. We were doing our job properly, and as you saw by the big death ball that our team created, our team were doing their job properly. It all fell to bits at the final point. And I don't want to... so you can see I was talking when I recorded this video. You see I did a ton of support points and heaps of capture points as well. So that's a longsword doing longsword things. But really, I don't want to blame external factors. Usually you've got to look at your own performance and say, how could I have done better? But I think that this map is very, very difficult for the attacker. I really do. And I'd love to hear from some veterans who have got some advice on how to get in there. You'll see that they killed twice as many heroes as we did. That doesn't help, right? It's just how it is. Anyway, boys and girls, I hope you learned something new or you just enjoyed the video. Thanks for coming to my channel. If you'd like to see more of these videos, I don't know if they're helpful to you, can you let me know in the comments below? I've done a couple before. If you want to search Battle Breakdown within my channel, you'll find at least a couple of other videos on this sort of style where I break it down and talk to you about all the interactions and things like that. Yeah, let me know how it went. Thank you so much for coming to my channel.